Last weekend, I took a trip down to Brisbane to go watch a couple of bands with my brother. We caught Amaranth and Sabaton. They were loud. But while I was there, I also took a side trip down into the city to check out a couple of retro gaming stores, and I picked up a couple of gems. Well, probably more than a couple of gems. Now, the first place I ended up venturing into was a CEX, where I was incredibly lucky enough to track down the only game I literally walked in looking for, Silent Hill 3. Now, this game is getting extremely hard to find, and I'm glad I was able to pick it up for a good price. And when I say good price, I mean incredibly overpriced. Funny enough, while I was in that CEX, I was also able to track down a couple of other Capcom games I've been looking for. Chaos Legion, Onimusha, and Onimusha 2. These were games I had back when I had my old PS2, and I was super happy to be able to track them down again. Then for some random reason, they also had a copy of Resistance on the PSP. So I grabbed that, why not? Now, after leaving the CEX, I ended up making my way through a really dodgy looking car park to find a really dodgy looking mall, where I found Eddie's Retro, where they had some absolutely banging old school PS2 titles. Most of these were $5 a piece, with the standout being Vampire Knight, which I had recently tracked down a G-Con 2 to be able to play. This is a game I had when I was a kid. If you've never played Vampire Knight, it's absolutely sick. Also, Prince of Persia 2, why not? Funny enough, I think my favorite place I ended up visiting while I was down there was in Chermside, and it was a shop called Super Retro. They had a couple of rarities sitting in the front of their shop as well, some really overpriced games. But it was in here that I managed to track down a copy of Power Rangers that I had when I was a kid, that I rented out many a time from Video 2000, and I ended up owing a whole big bunch of money to when they shut down. I also found a copy of Quackshot, which my wife really wanted for the Mega Drive. And funny enough, they also had a copy of Tailspin sitting side by side with it. I always found that these games looked and played better on the Mega Drive compared to the Super Nintendo back in the day. Now, the last place I walked into really took the game out of Game Traders, so to speak, which is really unfortunate because Game Traders used to be one of my favorite stores that I ever used to visit. I actually worked in one for a very short time, right here in my own hometown. It was there that I managed to find Pokemon Diamond. Now, this is one I've picked up for my wife. She's currently going through and trying to collect all of the mainstream Pokemon games, or at least one from every generation just to start with. She's got a pretty fair collection going at this point, but I do need to track down some of the more harder to find games for her. Actually, which games should I be prioritizing? You should let me know in the comments below. Are there any other good retro game stores around Australia? You should let me know. I want to check them out.